welcome back to Adventure 82. As you can see behind me, we have the first tower station, which is where we're starting today, where we left the last video. So let's have a look around and see what's left of this station. Alright, so this is first tower station. This should be an interesting one to film because I'm quite close to the avenue, and as the other few videos have proven, trying to talk when this lot's going past is interesting. Right, this is all the original station building, nothing's been added, even down to the wooden fencing. So this is all relatively original. The platform itself is missing. The line actually went on this side where we are now, so I'm probably going to get a bell rung at me at any moment because I'm currently on the cycle track. But so walking down here, this is how it used to be. This hasn't changed much. This cafe, obviously, that's now in the station building, have added these wooden bits for people to sit at, which is absolutely awesome. It's nice to see that the actual building's got a use. It's unfortunate that some other of the buildings along the line didn't survive that well. Right, this toilet, this public toilet here, this was actually part of the station as well, which is why if you look, it's got like a raised platform appearance. It was actually part of the original platform, and of course when they took the platform away they had to make this its kind of own platform, if you like. So if you see there, because obviously they couldn't change the height of the toilet and people need to get in, so that's that. But what's also quite interesting around here is, if you look on these flower beds, you can see there's a wooden border on it. These are all actually original sleepers from the railway itself, and they've been repurposed into making the borders for some of the flower beds, not just here but working your way up as well. Also, if you find the right ones, depending on how they've been orientated, let's see if I can find one, because some of these have been here a while, and some of them, depending on how they've been rotated, you can actually see. Let's see if I can find one. It'd be nice if I could. Yeah, you can see here where the holes were to clamp the railway down, just there. Some of them they've sanded the holes or like filled them in or something. This one has actually still got the metal bracket there. Like that. That's quite cool. Right, so this station platform would have started about here, went up this way, and all the way up to the station here in front of us. Now the interesting thing also about this specific station is that, well, for anybody who's local, you'll know the reason that the area itself is called First Tower is because it's next to the first defence tower of St Helier, the first tower. So First Tower, which is, as many of you are also aware, that granite building there. Now, in one of the old pictures, which you'll see at the end of the video of the station, you'll notice that there's like a windmill on top of this, and that windmill was actually it was a wind-powered water pump. So this has actually been used by the Jersey Waterworks for some time to circulate water around the island. And First Tower, as you can see now, all the windows have been filled in. That's because it's got a proper electric pump in there now, as is the modern thing. But if we zoom in, and I'll try and do it not too quickly, and also try not to get drowned out by the traffic, you can see there, see the little bolt sticking out there at the top? Right, that, I'll come back out now because you don't want a wobbly picture. Those bolts are what remain of that windmill. That's how it was attached to the top of the first tower. So if you could actually go in there, which you're not allowed, like I say, it's property of Jersey Waterworks, you would actually be able to see those bolts and probably some other fixings as well from when that windmill was up there to power the pump. Right, back to the station. This is the original station building, complete with the original metal here. This obviously is now a cafe. It's closed today, which is why I'm doing it today, because I'm not too sure whether the customers or the cafe would be too pleased if I was filming when it was open. It may well be that you get a clip of it open on the way back, we'll see. But that's the station as it stands. There has been some bits like this bit you can see here, that's plastic, that's been added on to give them a bit more room. I'd imagine that's the kitchen area. So you can see there where there used to be a window, it's now a vent, a cooking vent. Right, so considering back at the beginning of the station building where we started, I think probably the best thing to do now is to head down here and finish up as we are today at Millbrook Station. And on the way there, I've also will show you the site of what used to be Millbrook Halt. And then obviously the next video will continue from Millbrook and we'll go up. It gets a bit complicated once you get Millbrook further up because there's another 2 halts. There's, apart from Millbrook Halt, there's also Balroyal Halt and there was a Bowmore Halt. And we've got to cover those as well as we go up there from Millbrook. So it might be a slightly out of sync plan to how I've been doing it, because obviously, as you're aware, if you've watched the other ones, I've been going station to station. So I reckon the next video will probably go from Millbrook to probably Balroyal Halt, which should then leave us near where what most people will call, where most people will know is the Gunsight Cafe these days. And then we'll probably pick up from that one in the video then after that. So but we'll see how it works out. In the meantime, let's work our way down here. So as you can see now, we're down past the line painters. He's back over that way. Right, I don't know if you can see over here, but over there it's a little lane. It's called Farleys Lane, that road there. Right, now that road there was originally built as an access road for this station. This was the site, this end part here of the lay-by there, and I think partially this grass area was the site of what was Millbrook Halt before you got to the main station further up. This is, I think, one of the downfalls, if you speak to most people who know much about the line itself. One of the downfalls of the line itself was that the stations themselves were quite close together, as you can see, because obviously first tower's not that far down. If I show you, you can see it just over here in the distance, about there. There we go, from my finger, you can see it's just there. Right, so as I was saying, the problem is obviously because they're so close, and you had Millbrook Halt here, Millbrook Station just a bit further up from here. The problem you had with that was that because they're so close, in the 1800s when the railway was first built, not a massive issue, to be honest, because motorbus was in its infancy. But the problem came whereby much later on, when this line was merged with the what was then separate Lamoy St Auburn line, which we'll cover, like I say, when we get to the St Auburn station, was that they also were the same people who had the bus company. So that by having the stations so close together, the train could never really go more than maybe 6 miles an hour or so. And the problem with that is, of course, is that that meant the train was dramatically slower by the time you got to the turn of the 20th century than the motor bus was. So by having a motor bus that they had doing the exact same route as their train, they shot themselves in the foot and basically destroyed their own railway. Had they had less stations, I mean, like Millbrook Holt, I just shown you there, were late additions to the line anyway. They weren't added until like the 1920s, and they weren't really necessary. I mean, or back then, obviously, people not being as hesitant to walk around as maybe we'd become in the following decades, but we could have just walked a bit further up. But they weren't really necessary, and you can't help but feel, had they kept the stations relatively distant apart from each other, that although maybe there wouldn't be as many stops, as many opportunities to get off the station, that the train itself may possibly still be running today. Because let's be honest, if you've got a station at St Helier, you've got one at St Albans at the other end, and in between you've got one at First Tower, which has got quite a lot of residential areas these days, and then you've got one at Millbrook, which would be popular with parents and stuff taking children to and from the park, and then you wouldn't have to use these laybys that maybe, you know, you wouldn't have as much traffic on the road, which is something I know that everybody worldwide, especially Jersey, seems to be trying to do, is get people to use cars less. I know. There's a part of me that feels that maybe the railway would still be relevant had it managed to survive and not been conceivably shot in the foot by the people who owned it. We're coming up now to Millbrook, and once we get a bit closer to Millbrook station, we'll resume, because there's not really, as you can see, an awful lot to show you here. So we'll keep working our way down, and we'll go from there. So there you go, 3 people following me today. Erica, behind the scenes camera lady, Lydia just because she's got nothing better to do because college is finished, and Blade because, well, Blade does like to tag along. What he doesn't like is the sun above him, because he seems to think he's turning into a roasted beef burger. But I'm not.
I may not, but my back is definitely frying here. Like, I think I might turn into a roast turkey if this doesn't stop.
Right, just a quick story I thought was quite interesting to note was just between the station over there, the First Tower one where we started off, and the one where we're just going to finish up in a few moments at Millbrook, there used to be quite a lot of boats and shipbuilders along the south coast back in the late 1800s going into the early 20th century. It was a big business for Jersey was shipbuilding, and one of those shipbuilders actually happened to be placed in between these 2 stations, and he was on the far side of the tracks, and then you had your tracks, and then you had your walkway for the pedestrians, and then of course you had the beach where they were trying to get their boat into. And they finished this boat off and they were trying to launch it into the sea, and no one knows exactly quite what happened. I'm going to probably imagine that they probably hadn't lubricated the bottom of the boat enough, and what happened was the boat itself got stuck on the tracks for 2 days. So during the 19th and 20th of March in 1875, the train could actually get no further than the First Tower station. So what they had to do as a result was they had to then go up to the First Tower station, then transfer the passengers onto a bus, which then bring them down to the Millbrook station over here where we're going to finish off, and then the passengers be transferred back to the train to finish their ride up to St Brallard's or the Hall, whatever it was they were getting off beyond that point. Just thought that was something interesting to note. That must have been quite a sight to see, I would imagine, in 1875, as a passenger coming off the train and then being transferred to a boat and transferred to a bus. So you see this big massive wooden ship stuck across the train tracks. I can only imagine how they tried to move that, but just thought that was something interesting to know. Right, that's it for this video. So I've got Millbrook Station behind me, which is where we'll pick up in the next one, and we'll work up from that one in the next one, and we'll finish there at Balmoral Halt. Until then, I'll see you in the next video.